Okay. Trying to keep up with AI news these days. It really feels like a full-time job, doesn't it?
It really does. The pace is just, well, relentless.
And sorting out what actually matters for you listening, that's the real challenge.
Exactly.
So that's what we do here on the Deep Dive. We try to cut through all that noise.
Bring you this stuff that's genuinely significant, make it clear, make it concise.
Today, we're digging into some key developments, really just from the past day or so.
Yep, we've gone through the articles, the little research snippets, the news reports, basically trying to filter it down for you.
The goal. By the end of this, you should have a much clearer picture of some big AI moves and, what they might actually mean.
Let's get into it.
All right, first up, this story that definitely caught my eye, a startup called Atomic Canyon.
Ah, yes, Atomic Canyon.
Their ambition is, well, it's pretty bold. They're aiming to build, and this is their phrase, ChatGPT for the nuclear industry.
It's specific, isn't it? And they just pulled in, what, $7 million in seed funding?
That's right, $7 million. And their whole focus is an AI specifically for document search inside nuclear power plants.
Yeah, this isn't your general purpose AI.
Yeah.
It's really tailored for, an incredibly complex and highly regulated field, the sheer amount of information.
Exactly. Think about all the documents, safety protocols, maintenance logs, regulatory stuff. It must be astronomical.
Oh, easily.
So the main idea here, the value, it seems to be about making it way faster to find critical information when you need it. That's the core, right?
That's precisely the pitch. In that kind of environment, speed and accuracy are just paramount.
Totally.
So imagine being able to instantly find, say, a specific safety procedure during an incident, or the right repair guide for a piece of equipment.
That could make a real difference.
It could potentially improve safety, make maintenance more efficient, maybe even help experts connect dots they might have missed before by finding related documents faster.
Okay, so that brings up a bigger question, doesn't it? If this works for document search, could AI like this eventually do more in the nuclear sector?
That's the million-dollar or perhaps billion-dollar question.
Right. Like, could it help with predicting when equipment might fail? Or even, I don't know, assist in designing safer reactors down the line?
It's definitely plausible. If Atomic Canyon proves the value here, it could open doors. But we have to remember the hurdles are huge.
How so?
Well, nuclear safety regulations are incredibly strict. Any AI used would need to be super accurate, obviously, but also auditable. You need to be able to understand why it gave you a certain answer. That's a big ask.
Yeah, you can't just have a black box making suggestions in a nuclear plant.
Absolutely not. Trust and reliability are everything.
Yeah.
The validation process for an AI in this field would have to be, incredibly rigorous. Lots of testing, lots of human oversight.
Makes sense. It's about building confidence, not just capability.
Exactly. Confidence that the experts can rely on the information the AI provides.
Okay, so Atomic Canyon, definitely one to watch. A big challenge, but potentially huge impact.
Agree.
Now, let's shift gears a bit, but stay on sort of the cutting edge of AI development. There's a lot happening around the tools and infrastructure that enable these more advanced AI models.
Yeah, this is a really active area. We're seeing a big push beyond just, asking an AI a question and getting an answer.
Right.
The focus is moving towards AI that can actually do things, solve problems more autonomously. Mistral AI, for example, just launched their Agents API.
Agents APIs, what's the goal there?
The idea is to let language models act more like, agents for businesses. They can collaborate, connect to external systems, and tackle tasks.
So this ties into that concept of AI agents using tools, right? I know Simon Willison has talked a lot about this.
Precisely. Tool use is fundamental here. It's about giving the AI model the ability to call external functions or APIs.
So it's like giving the brain access to hands or a calculator or the internet.
That's a great analogy. The language model is the brain, but the tools let it perform calculations, search the web for current info, query a database, maybe even run some code.
And we're seeing practical tools emerge for this. Simon Willison's LLM tool, version 0.26, now supports this tool use, letting developers build these agents.
Yes, and there's already a growing ecosystem of plugins for it. Things like LM Tools Simple Hevel for math,
Okay.
.lm-tools QuickJS to run JavaScript, tools for accessing SQLite databases locally, or even connecting to remote data using Dataset.
So developers are getting the building blocks they need.
They are. And critically, there seems to be convergence on how these models access tools. This thing called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP.
MCP, okay, what's the significance of that?
It's emerging as a standard way for different models to talk to these tools. Think of like a common language.
Hmm.
And the big players, OpenAI, Anthropic, Mistral, they've all recently added support.
Ah, so that avoids everyone building their own incompatible systems, makes it easier to build tools that work across different AIs.
Exactly. It fosters interoperability, which is huge for the ecosystem. It helps developers build tools once, potentially use them with multiple models.
So, zooming out, what does all this, the agents, the tool use, the standards like MCP, what does it mean? Where is this heading?
Well, it feels like we're moving towards what people are calling agentic AI.
Agentic AI?
Yeah, AI systems that aren't just passive responders. They can have goals, they can learn as they go, they can even work together with other AIs on complex problems.
Yeah.
It's quite a shift from just prompt and response.
And there are already toolkits popping up to build these. I saw a discussion mentioning things like TaskWeaver, Maestro, Autogen Studio.
Oh, yes, the ecosystem is exploding. MetaGPT, Haystack agents, open agents, super agent. Lots of different approaches emerging for building agents for all sorts of tasks.
Wow. Okay, so the potential impact on how software gets built, how businesses operate, it seems pretty profound.
It really does. We're seeing the foundational layers being put down right now.
Fascinating. All right, let's connect this to the business side. We're also seeing a ton of money and strategic moves happening in the AI space, right?
Absolutely. The investment in M&A activity is just nonstop. For example, Relay just raised $25 million.
Roulette. What do they do?
They're using AI to automate general ledger systems. So pulling data straight from banks, other platforms, and generating financial statements automatically.
Okay, automating finance. Then there's the massive deal or potential deal Salesforce looking to acquire Informatica.
Yeah, reportedly around $8 billion. The stated goal there is all about boosting AI data capabilities. Data is the fuel, right?
Always. And speaking of big players, Anthropic just added Reed Hastings, the Netflix co-founder, to its board.
That's an interesting move. It suggests perhaps a focus on navigating that tricky balance between rapid commercial growth and broader societal responsibilities or ethics.
Good point. And talent is shifting too. Instacart's promoting Chris Rogers to CEO because Fujisima was leaving.
To take a leadership role at OpenAI, that's a significant move between major tech players. Shows where top talent sees the future, maybe.
It definitely signals something. We also saw Beto raise $5.7 million, their focus.
Agentic AI again, but specifically for code reviews. They want to use AI agents to speed up enterprise software development,
So AI checking code written by humans.
or even AI checking code written by other AIs, potentially. And one more funding round, Grid Care.
Great care.
They got $13.5 million to tackle the huge energy demands of AI. They're talking about using generative grid intelligence.
AI to manage the power needed for AI. That's meta not.
It certainly is, but it highlights a very real challenge.
So looking at all these investments, acquisitions, board appointments, what's the underlying theme here? What does it tell us about where enterprise AI is heading?
Well, a few things jump out. Clearly, automating core business processes like finance with Relay or development with Beto is a huge focus.
Makes sense. Efficiency gains.
Data remains absolutely central. Look at Salesforce and Informatica. And there's this growing awareness of the infrastructure needed, both in terms of talent, like the OpenAI move, and actual power, like grid care, plus that ethical dimension with the Anthropic board appointment.
So it's about making AI practical, scalable, integrated, and maybe hopefully responsible.
That seems to be the direction things are moving, or at least where the money and strategic focus are currently pointing.
Okay, and that mention of responsibility brings us briefly to ethics and governance. It's always part of the conversation, isn't it?
It has to be. There was a piece highlighting concerns about AI companies potentially losing control, opening doors to risks like LLM grooming, basically manipulating models for harmful ends.
Right, the control issue is real. And on the governance side,
Well, there's talk about Canada potentially taking a leading role on AI policy and data governance at the upcoming G7 summit.
an opportunity for leadership there.
Yeah, but the whole challenge of regulating AI, effectively balancing ethics, innovation, economics, it's a massive ongoing global debate. No easy answers.
Definitely not. Okay, so we've covered specialized AI and nuclear, the rise of AI agents and their tools, major investments, and a nod to the ethical tightrope.
Quite a bit for one day's news cycle.
It really is. So maybe a final thought to leave our listeners with. As you hear about these advancements, especially with AI agents becoming more capable, the tools getting better, billions being invested, how might your own work or even your daily life start to change?
That's the key question, isn't it? Which of these threads, The specialized AI, the agentic capabilities, the enterprise integration feels most relevant to you.
Yeah, what warrants a deeper look for your own interests or your industry? Something to chew on.
Definitely.
All right, that wraps up our deep dive for today. We hope breaking down these developments gives you that clearer picture we talked about.
Our aim is always to provide clarity and maybe some actionable insights from the AI whirlwind.
We'll be back soon to tackle another set of key developments. Until then, keep exploring.
Stay informed.